If you have a Bible or would like to turn to the book of Santiago, amen. English speaking, that would be the book of James. Santiago 5. James chapter 5. We have, after the service, I should have said it before we dismissed, but Molly and Steve are going to be helping pass out some gifts for mothers. But we have a gift for every mother today. Mothers definitely get a gift. We just so appreciate all of our mothers today. James chapter 5, if you have your Bible, drop down to verse number 7. Be patient. There is no, he's not trying to get any deep explanation. He said, just be patient. I'll be reading these verses and making some comments, but I want you to get that part. Everybody say, be patient. My title today is simply this: the most patient person. Mom. The most patient person. Turn around to somebody and say, in the world. In the world. I don't know, I'm not trying to stereotype, but my mother was very patient. And as far as I'm concerned, this scripture fits her today. Yes, she was a patient person. And somebody say amen. Amen. You may be seated today. Patient. Looking at the scripture today, it says, be therefore patient. I looked it up in another translation because I thought I knew, and it is so. Be patient. And another translation said this: brothers and sisters. This is not saying that only men are patient. It was talking about humanity. It's talking about those who are in the church of the living God, that they need to be patient until the coming of the Lord. How many believes that's true? I thought it was interesting when I looked up the word patient in this text, and because I want to get an understanding of it, and it simply means to stay put. How many know about moms that stay put?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To stay put, to stand fast when you'd like to run away. How many mothers, I'm telling you, would just like to run away to a spa, to the mall? Can I get a witness? I'm talking about being patient. He goes on to say, see how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, its precious fruit. Look what's going on. There's the word patience again. Guess what's in verse 8? Anybody want to guess? Patience. 2 verses, and already patience has been used 3 times. I'm talking about, many Greek scholars believe that's where we get our word long-suffering from. But it refers to people. Let me tell you one thing I know about mothers. When you carry a child for 9 months, you're very patient.
Amen.
I've even made a mistake before and tell people, we are having a baby. We are not having a baby. I'm supporting the one who's having one. Yeah, you can do this. I was there breathing. I still remember the first one. I almost passed out. we went early in the morning, and baby wasn't delivered till about 5 o'clock, and I hadn't eaten anything. My blood sugar must have got out of control. So I did see Michael burp, but I had to get a little sip of water and peanut butter cracker to make it through. I'll just tell you that. So that's why I said we didn't have a baby. My wife had a baby, and I was there supporting her.
Amen.
Everybody know what I'm talking about?
Amen.
But James, looking at verse 7 again, said, like the farmer. Let me just ask you, who is a better person to nurture tender plants? Children.
Right.
My wife just put out one tomato plant, just one, just to, kind of get the year started. She put out a tomato plant. It was yesterday. And so she tells me today, she goes, I got to put a bucket over that thing, Potty, don't I? I said, yeah, if it gets down below 40, you want to put a 5-gallon bucket over it. Me, I would have just said, we'll just buy another plant. They're only $2. But see, that's the difference between a nurturer. Can I get a witness right now?
Amen.
That's the difference. See, I believe today that the most patient person on the planet is a God-fearing mother who prays.
Amen.
She looks out and says, let me tell you something. If you're an impatient person, don't be a farmer. If you're one of these people that if it can't do it as fast as the microwave does it, don't be a farmer. See, my wife was reared on a farm. And I can tell you something about those plants. You just don't put them in the ground the next day, you got what you want.
Right.
Everybody know what I'm talking about? I've watched my wife, and again, she would go down through that row, and she just put those seeds down there, and I'm thinking, after about a week, I'm thinking, those plants are never going to do anything. I don't see nothing. All I see is ground out there. My wife says, be patient. Patience is not something I do real well. I know some of you, I'm just looking out at you, you're just so patient.
Yeah.
My wife, she talks with this very soothing voice, like her mother did. Me, not so much. I just pulled the belt out and said, somebody's going to get something in a minute. But then again, I didn't carry him for 9 months. Does anybody know what I'm talking about right now? I was just recently come across this, and I thought it was interesting. It's about this mother. And what really caught my attention was she had 6 children. That just when I read it, it was just interesting that she had 6 children, and she had another one on the way. And as I was reading the story, it was talking about a particular day that she said she was having a hard time doing her chores. There was, when you got 6 kids and a 7th one on the way, you got things you got to do. Hello? Can you 7? Isn't that how many drawers there were? 7. And she said that one day she was trying to do her chores, and her 3-year-old, every time she turned around, she almost stepped on him. He was right there. And she said, she just go do something, and she turned, and there he was. She said there was nowhere she could go, that he wasn't right there. Finally, she says to him, wouldn't you like to go outside and play on the swings with your brothers and sisters? Would you like? Well, my kids used to go out the door. My wife used to laugh. I'd tell Michael and Sharon, I said, you need to go outside now. As they would go, I'd turn the lock on the door. That's in case they want to come back through. They ain't come back through. No, I didn't do this when they were 3. I waited till like they were 3.5. No, they were already in school. But they would just go in and out, in and out, in and out. Then finally I said, go outside. I unlocked the door. I unlocked the door. But this mother said, she'd ask him, and she said, and she said finally he wouldn't go. And she said, she looked into those little eyes. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Those little eyes. She's looking right into those little eyes. Those eyes that just would melt you like butter. And she just said to him, after about the 5th time, you don't want to go out and play? No, I want to stay right with you. Finally, she said, why are you staying right with me? He said, well, Mommy, in Sunday school class, the teacher told us to walk in Jesus' footsteps. And I can't see him. So I decided to walk in your steps. I'm talking about a mother of 6, 7th one's on the way. 3-year-old. Folks, that's patience.
Amen.
Can I get a witness? Did you know that the church is the mother of us all? One of the things we need to master is patience. Because in patience you possess your soul. You know, I was reading about a particular person. This person, you probably don't go right through the scripture, but in the book of 2 Samuel, there is a woman by the name of Rizpah. In 2 Samuel chapter 21 and verse 10, just so you know this, that you know I'm not making this name up. So you go, Rizpah. Ain't no Rizpah in the Bible. Yeah, there's a Rizpah in there. Rizpah was a person of affluence. The reason being was she was the mother. If you want to know who Rizpah is the mother of king's kids. She has 2 of King Saul's sons. Remember who King Saul was? First king of Israel. 2 of his sons was born to Rizpah. But because of Saul's evil ways, 2 of the sons were executed. Because God, when He makes a promise, you don't break the promises of God. Amen. Just let you know that right now. You don't break them. God said, you make a promise, even to the heathens. You made a promise, you keep the promise. When they came into the land, there were some people called the Gibeonites. And they fooled Joshua into thinking they weren't from the land, so he wouldn't annihilate them. So Joshua said, well, I promised we wouldn't kill you. I made that promise. But you're going to do all the menial tasks in Israel. When there's wood to be cut, you're going to cut it. When there's water to be fetched, you're going to be fed. You're going to fetch water. When there's the jobs that, when people want to dig the new hole for the outhouse, you're digging it. That's your job. That's what your family's job is. But we won't kill any of you. But Saul decided that those rules didn't apply to him. So he starts killing off the Gibeonites with everybody else. He just starts killing them. Saul dies, and all of a sudden, for 3 years, there's no rain in their family. And David said, oh my goodness. I don't know if you realize, but you know what happens when you don't have crops for 3 years? Does anybody know what happens? I know you said, well, we just go to the other grocery store. Well, we want grocery stores. So David inquired of the Lord. He said, God, why is this? And God said, because you're cursed. You're cursed because of the Gibeonites. You didn't keep your word. You started killing people you said you wouldn't annihilate. You can't do that. So David goes to the Gibeonites and says, you know what? How can I make this right? How much money do I have? How much gold will it take? How much silver? How much livestock? How many slaves do you need? They said, we don't want any of that stuff. We just want the family of King Saul to know that they shouldn't have done this. So 2 of Saul's sons died. They were Rizpah's sons. What's so amazing about Rizpah, this woman was raised, like I said, with affluence. Does everybody know what I'm saying? She never got her hand. Rizpah never had dirt under her nails. She didn't know what dishwater was. She never washed dishes. She had servants to do it. She didn't draw her bath water. Somebody else did it for her. She didn't put the oils in the bath water. Somebody else did it for her. Why? Because when King Saul came and he wanted her pristine. So she did nothing. She was in the lap of luxury. That's all she knew. But now all of a sudden, her 2 sons are dead. And the Bible says she stepped out of her luxury. She took sackcloth, burlap sackcloth, and moved out to where her sons were hung. Not only did they hang these sons and 5 others, they left them hanging. And Rizpah, being a mother, said, as long as they hang, I'm going to be right there next to them. Let me tell you something, folks. Do you know what happens when a son dies overseas? Does anybody know what happens? Mother doesn't rest. But he's already passed away. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if he passed away. He's not home yet. She's not going to sleep until he is safely been put in the ground. Do I have any mothers in the house?
Yes.
Do I have one mother in this house that understand what I'm talking about right now?
Yes.
What I want you to see, but more than that, she did that, it said from beginning of harvest until the rain dropped. This is about, she was up on that place where they buried him with the sackcloth for 6 months. Folks, you didn't know what I said. They're already gone. But she said, I have nothing better to do with my time. These are my only kids. I don't need to go to the mall. I don't need to go to the spa. I don't care how dirty my nails get from this point. I don't care if I break all of them. My boys are hanging up there.
Yes.
And the Bible says that during the day, she did whatever she could do to keep animals away. At nighttime, she had to torch fires every night for 6 months. Because that's when they're going to take them down. Finally, and I'll go more into Rizpah, but finally the news gets to the ears of David and says, David, have you heard about the crazy Rizpah? You know the neighbors were talking about it, right?
Right. Sure.
Do you think she really cared? No. Do you think she cared? No, you're not getting it today. No, you're too Americanized. She didn't care. Poor Rispa's out there. She's off her rocker. That's my voice hanging. No animals touching my baby at nighttime. But Rispa, they're dead. But they're not in the ground. The news gets to David after 6 months. It's the year of David. And they said, David, Rispa. David made the command. And God did remove the curse from Israel. But David said, you know what? We're going to cut them down. Because if those boys hang there more months, and if it turns into years, Rispa's going to die right there. Because she ain't leaving. I want you to understand. She was not going to let the birds, she was not going to let the wild animals, she didn't care what people had to say about her. She didn't have time. She lost all sense of time. There is no time. She lost all sense of luxury. She lost all. What are you trying to say? I'm saying to Rispa, nothing else mattered. I don't care how much time it takes. Let me tell you something. You know, really, a true mother in Israel is the one who says, "It don't care. I don't care how long it takes for my babies to get saved. I'm going to pray until they get saved." But you're the CEO of the company. You're the president of the United States. But these are my babies. You don't understand. They're my babies. No wonder he likened the church to a mother. We don't care what we look like. Well, you know, you looking kind of crazy today, Pastor. I don't care. My babies aren't saved. I can't go to sleep. How can I enjoy eternity? Let me ask you something. No, you're not listening. How can I enjoy eternity knowing my babies are going to be in the lake of fire? How do I do that? No, I may not be a mother today, but I'm part of the church. And the church is the most patient people. I've had people tell me, well, if they said that to me, if they did that, I'd kick them right out the door. How many times have God kicked us out the door for that? You ain't never messed up? You have never had a failure? Let me tell you something. We've only had 2 children. It has never crossed my mind. And now we have 4 grandkids. It has never crossed my mind to ever kick them to the curb. It's never crossed my mind. I remember my son got his first tattoo. Did you like it? No, I didn't like it. What'd you do about it? I teased him about it. He got his name, he got Michael put here. And I still remember saying to him, I said, you don't even know your own name? I'm not against a tat, but get a bulldog or something. Your name? I said, why? Why would you put your name? You don't even know your name. He goes, Dad, that's not for me. That's the girls will know my name. I said, oh. Excuse me. That makes sense. I'm glad he's not here today. Say, Dad, would you please? Hopefully, maybe we should have cut that part out. I'm just trying to talk about patience. The church should be the most patient place on the planet. Let me tell you something. If you come in here today and you've been bullied, that won't happen here. Amen. Why is that? Because mama won't put up with that. Right. Let me tell you something. Think of all that Rispa did for dead children that you won't even do for your living children. You haven't got 6 months that you'll spend with them. You won't spend any of your money. You want to find fault with them. She's not finding fault. There's two dead boys out there. But you know, in Rizpah's mind, she said, they just happened to be born to the wrong man. Now, I don't want to preach on that today. There's a lot of kids been born to the wrong man.
Amen.
Wow. Yeah, it's a nice time. Just let that sink in a little while. Their crime, Rizpah's son's crime was their daddy just happened to be King Saul. That's what they did wrong. And his sin caught up with them. Wow. There's a lot of kids today that are carrying daddy's sins around. But there's something about the patient Rizpah that says, no. Saul didn't carry those two boys. Saul did not rear those two boys. Saul did not see them as the tender plants. They don't remember the first time. That they took that step. See, Rizpah remembered it all. And I need to ask you today, church, do you remember when people made some of the first steps in this church? Well, I'll tell you what, I walked a lot faster than that. I beg to differ with you. Some of you still crawling today. Some of you still drinking baby's milk. But you ready for this? I've made up in my mind. If I'm truly in the church, I have to have the patience of Rizpah. I don't care what other pastors say. These are our kids.
Amen.
Can I get a witness today? I don't care what your kids ought to be doing what? Let me tell you something. All my kids have got to do. They don't have to get a college education. They don't have to be astronauts. All they got to do is love me. That's it. People say, well, my kids don't love me. Well, let me ask you, how much loving on them do you do? But they make mistakes, and you never do. See, let me tell you something about Rizpah's love. It was a perfect love that says, you know what? I'm leaving all my comfort behind because of my two boys. I'm spending all my time because of my boys. And I'm glad to do it. Why? Because my boys are my everything. How many feel that way today? The most patient, not impatient. Again, make sure you get the definition again. Can you get this? Stay put. Stay put. Stand fast when you'd like to run away. I'll just move to a different city. I'll change my name. No, Rizpah said, that's not what I'm going to do. Let me ask you, how much energy does it take to live outside? How many of you could do it? You could live outside under a sackcloth tent. In some of the roughest climate on the planet is where she lived at. Hot, cold at night, wild animals, vultures. No wonder David said, I got to go cut those guys down. I think enough is enough. Let me tell you something for church. Whenever the church can get to the place that we can say enough is enough.
Wow.
Enough is enough. You know what? Somebody says, what does it take? What does it take to really help people? Never give up on them. Never give up. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Well, let me tell you something. I had a great mother. I had a great stepmother. I had a great mother-in-law. All of them are gone. I don't have any. So we adopted, my wife and I adopted a lady from Pennsylvania. We adopted her. We was hoping she'd adopt us, but so that didn't work out. She already had 6 boys. But they had no daughters. So they decided they would adopt my wife, and I'd come along from trip. And, I mean, you can call, right? You can call anytime. She was ready to talk to you. She said, I'll tell you what. She said, after having 6 boys and no girls, it's nice to have a daughter to talk to. So Amen. This last year, she passed away. At 1 o'clock, she was fine. At 3 o'clock, she stepped into eternity. 2 hours later. All 6 boys just were no warning. No warning. She was sitting in her easy chair. Dad checked in. Vern had checked in at 1 o'clock. 3 o'clock. He came back home just to get something that he had forgotten. And she was slumped down in the chair. What are you saying? I'm saying, what do you do when the patient people move off the scene? Pastor, do you still need people to be patient with you? Really? I know some of you think you're all that in a bag of chips, but really? Really? And my wife, she tries to be patient with me. She tries to mother me. She tells me it's going to be okay. She never uses phrases like this, but if I was a mother, this is what I'd say. She doesn't say this, but this is what I'd say. You were an idiot. She never calls me an idiot, but if I was a mother, I'd say, you were an idiot. But I'll be patient. But she never, all she says is, I'll be patient. She never says the idiot. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? No, come on. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Because she believes in me more than I believe in myself.
Amen.
Can I get a witness from anybody today? When people come through that door, we need to believe in them more than they believe in themselves. That's simply all you've got to do. That's all you've got to do to be patient, is just to say, you know what? I have hope.
Amen. Amen.
Well, your son went to prison, but I have hope he'll get out. But he was put in for life. Yeah, but they said life, but they didn't say without parole.
Right.
So therefore, I have hope that, come on, is that not a mother's love?
Amen.
Come on, is that not a mother's love? That has got to be us, folks. That has got to be us. No matter what the story is, we need to say, yeah, but there's hope. There's hope. We still.
Amen. Amen.
See, on this special day, I know I need to be preaching maybe just to mothers, but one of the greatest mothers in Israel is Deborah. Her name means B-E-E. That's it. That's all it means. B-E-E. Oh, come on, get deep on it. Just B.
Right.
That's. But she's the mother bee.
That's right.
Come on, Mother Cicero, you know what I'm talking about.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Those mothers in Israel, I'm going to tell you something. They're there when everybody else is saying, well, we're done now. You know how many times, you do like a walkathon or whatever, and after the sun starts getting hot and the watermelon's cold inside the building or whatever, so everybody goes to, but Mama B's still sitting out there going, yeah, there's one more, still got to make it around.
Amen.
Do you catch it in this lady here? Do you catch that?
Amen.
Barak, think about this. All these judges in Israel. And I mean, there was some pretty crazy judges. I remember the one called Samson.
Oh, yeah.
Samson, I mean, he was crazy. All I can think of when I think of the harlot and Samson, all I can remember is that movie I watched. Hanks was in it.
Oh, yeah.
He would run.
No.
Forrest Gump, run.
Yeah.
Forrest, run. That's what I feel like saying to Samson. Run, Samson. It's Delilah. She wanted to cut your hair, buddy. Run. Do you know what is so interesting? The first place where Samson speaks in the scriptures, go check it out in the book of Judges. His first words out of the mouth. There is a woman in Tisbah. Get her for me. 20-some miles away, he had to walk, and there was no cars in those days, folks. He walked it. 52,000 something steps. Guy actually did the math. He walked over 52,000 steps the wrong direction. No, you didn't get it. Over 50. Come on. When you get up to 30,000, don't you go, nah, she's just not really worth it. She's going to give me a haircut, and they're going to put my eyes out. No, you just keep going. I'm going to get that prostitute here in a minute. That's one of the judges of Israel, folks. Aren't you glad we're talking about Deborah today? Aren't you glad I didn't preach a Samson message today? 52,000 steps of an idiot or something? Aren't you glad I didn't use that title today? There are some men that walk 52,000 and more steps just for pornography. Did you know that? Not realizing they're going to lose their wife, their kids, their money. Well, that's for another message. Or on Mother's Day.
Right.
Mother's Day.
Mothers don't do that.
Deborah is a mother in Israel. Can I get a witness?
Amen.
Barak at the time is the guy in control of the armed forces. And Barak says, we've got to fight our enemies, but I'm not going to go if you don't go. Can you imagine that? We're not fighting this. Deborah, if you don't go, I'm not going. You know what he was saying? Would you hold my hand?
Amen.
Let me tell you, I don't know what Samson's mother was like. I really don't know. But I can tell you that mother in Israel, Deborah, she said, I'll take every step with you until your enemies are defeated. Now, I can tell you what she said. He said, well, I'm a little nervous because they've got chariots and horses, and they're a very powerful army. And she said, well, I just believe that there's a God who can change all of that. And sure enough, it did.
Amen.
They came against Israel, and all of a sudden, it started raining torrentially. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Rain torrentially.
Oh, yeah.
Does everybody know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The ground got soft. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Out of nowhere. And you know what happens to horses and chariots? They go to sink.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Children of Israel can walk through the Red Sea and they don't sink, but Pharaoh's chariots sink. How do you go from not sink to sink?
God.
It's like there's a God involved here.
Amen.
Right? Sister Cicero comes. Deborah, that mother in Israel, Rizpah. How powerful. Could you imagine living in a city that was so sinful? Let me just tell you something, folks. Next time people tell you sexual sins are not, they don't hurt you, well, that's how Sodom and Gomorrah burned. And I don't think it was any accident that was called Sodom, do you? Anybody think that that was an accident? Anybody? No. But let's think about one of the most wicked cities on the planet in biblical times, called Jericho. So wicked that when they go in there, everybody in the city is going to be annihilated. Except there's someone who knows how to put a scarlet cord out the window. I know these names like Rahab and Rizpah and Deborah. Deborah's probably a little easier name, but you go, who are these people? Let me tell you who they are. They're people, because of that, everybody in that house was spared. If you were in the house where that scarlet cord was, everybody in there, when the children of Israel went through the cities and they started slaying everyone, they saw that scarlet cord, and this is what they said: do not go in that house and kill anybody. We have made a pledge, a promise. We've already talked about how 2 sons died because somebody didn't keep their promise. Do not kill anybody in there. Now, I don't know if you realize it, but those 2 spies that she hid, and that's the reason that scarlet cord went there, she ends up in the genealogy of Jesus Christ because she married one of the spies. Not only did she save her household, but her life was transformed. Let me tell you something, folks. I know what I am. Maybe you don't know what you are, but I'm somebody that's not worth saving. But one day, somebody came into my life and said, choose what side you want to be on. And when I chose, he said, this is a pledge that I give to you. When I see the blood, I'll pass over. Judgment won't come to this house. But wait a minute. You don't understand. The business I run, Rahab ran a business in Jericho. It was not a nice one. You go look up. She was not a virtuous woman. But something changed. Can I get a witness? You can't change. Oh, yes, you can. If we can't, then why did he go to the cross? If there's no chance of changing. See, I have people tell me all the time. Have you ever had people tell you, well, I was raised, and my mother did this, and my dad did. I don't care how you were born, who raised you. What does God want you to be? I don't know anything about Rahab's parents. I just know what God wants her to be. How many today are willing to let go of your past and just be what God wants you to be? Now, some of you may say, well, I had the greatest mom in the world, the greatest dad in the world. Great! Not everybody did. But today I'll let you know there's an opportunity to be something. That God has chosen. All you got to simply do is just know the patience is not there. We're not going to run out. How many feel that way today? Are you going to stick with it? Somebody comes to those doors and they need help. Let's go one step better than that. We step outside those doors. People ask us why in the month of July we started care groups. We got to get outside these doors. We have got to get outside these doors, folks. I don't know if you realize it, but people who are not got messed up lives running to come through those doors. They just don't do that. But if they find someone who's patient, someone who's kind, let me be strong. Could you imagine being that woman out of the marketplace? All these religious people around you. And you already know what's going to happen. You already know. You know what? You know what the law reads? The law is the law. Yes? How many believes the law is the law? Yes? You run a red light, you're speeding, they're going to do anything about it, they're just going to go, nah, windows don't close over to that. They pulled you over, oh, we were only kidding about driver's license, you don't have to have it. No, folks, the law is the law. The woman found in adultery, the law was to stone her. All they need to do is find a wall, put her there. That wall has plenty of rocks around it because they're used to doing this. Big buck like this, throw just down. But this day they decided to do something different. They came to the patient Jesus. And so the law was very simple. We found this woman in the act of adultery. Oh, wow. Did the guy run that fast? You found the woman, I mean, you couldn't get handcuffs on her or what? You said you found it in the very act. I don't believe you. There's no guy. Case is dropped. Jesus doesn't do that. Jesus looks out and says, you know what? I'm patient. He didn't raise his voice. You guys ought to be ashamed of doing this. He doesn't do it. He just patiently starts writing on the ground. Some people say, what's he writing? I think there's a couple things going on there. One, I think we're so dusty, we say, who cleans this place? I don't. Maybe he just wrote, wash me. All I know is when he did, people started walking away. And finally, the patient one says, where are thine accusers? See, they want to kill you because they have nothing involved with creating you. You're my creation. Come on, can I hear a mother say amen? You're my creation. How many mothers here today have a child or that was a daughter or son that was bad that you would put the noose around and you pull the lever for them to go through the floor? Can I see your hands off mothers who would do that? But they did something wrong. When you got them, no. Put them somewhere for a while. They're just patient. They just are patient. Jesus looked down and said, I'm just patient. But he looked down and he said to her, said, you know what? Your life is going to be different from this point on. Why is that? Because you do believe you were supposed to die today. And you looked into my eyes of compassion. You believed everything that I had to say. But I don't condemn you. There's no more condemnation. But go and sin no more. These men are not worth it. Find any other kind of occupation, because these men are not worth it. The man that you were lying with, he didn't stick up to you. He left you to the wolf. Yes or no? Yes. These Pharisees, they were ready to kill you in a heartbeat. But that's because they have not invested in you at all. How many's glad today God invested in you? Are you glad today you got it? Come on, how many's glad that God invested in you? Mothers, the most patient people in the world. Can I say it this way? Would you like to be patient today? Let me just ask you this as you stand. How many would like to stand in front of Jesus Christ in the day of judgment and hear his patient voice? Hear that soothing voice. Can I see your hand? You'd like him to be patient? But you don't know what I've done. What I want you to know, you don't know what length he will go to let me ask you this. If you want God to be that patient, wouldn't it make sense maybe you should start being a little more patient? If you're willing to be a little bit more patient with the lost, would you come to Him? If you're willing to be patient with the lost. Because when you are, this is what Jesus said, you're being patient with my children. Rizpah, Rahab. Deborah. Every time I look, all I can see is the church. All I can see is that patience. All I can see is that patience today. If you want patience, go look at the Beatitudes. What you want, you have to get. If you want to receive forgiveness, Jesus said you have to. So you have to give what you want to receive. You want somebody to be patient with you? Then right now say, God, I'm praying. I know somebody said, don't pray for patience. I'm just praying, asking you to pray for this kind of patience. I'm talking about the kind of patience with evil. I'm talking about the kind of patience that simply says, I won't run away when things get tough. I'll stay put. See, folks, God is looking for some people today who will just stay put. Just stay put. I will tell you, one of the things that I believe all of us have found, once you find a patient person in your life, you want to befriend them. Anybody know what I'm talking about right now? How many believe today, would you find a friend that's patient, that will stick with you, that don't run at the first sign of trouble? Well, today, James just said it easier than I can say it. Be patient until the coming of the Lord. Just be patient. Lord, I just want to be patient with you.